Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob, and welcome to another episode of A Look at the Book. These episodes are where I take books that either I purchased or you've purchased and sent in to me, or publishers have sent me to take a look at their book and tell you what's in it, and you can decide from there if it's something that maybe you want to pick up. This episode and the next few are probably going to be a little different format than my normal look at the books. My overhead camera that I use to switch over to look at the book has been giving me some issues, and I lost about 3 hours of video because of these issues yesterday. And I decided that I will no longer be using that camera until I can either get it fixed or find a replacement or something. So the format for looking at the book is going to be a little different. I'm still going to show you stuff, but I just can't trust that camera. So the book that we're going to be looking at today is Barbarians of the Ruined Earth. And this is by Mike Evans. Really cool cover. Very cool cover art. And I'm kind of a twofer because he sent this in to me. He also sent me an adventure, The Slave Mines of Vindicus the Terrible. And we're going to talk about both of these books and what's in them. So, Barbarians of the Ruined Earth is a fantasy post-apocalyptic setting using the Black Hack. I have watched a video on the Black Hack, but I have never read it, do not own it, and don't know a whole lot about the Black Hack. So my experience with the rules are pretty much limited to this. I have read through it. I've had it for a little while. Again, this was sent in by Mike Evans. He wanted me to show the book off, review the book, whatever. And that's what we're going to do today. Some of the rules in here that I think are really neat might be standard Black Hack rules. I'm not sure because, like I said, I haven't read the Black Hack. But to me, they're new, and they're new because I haven't seen them until I saw Barbarians of the Ruined Earth. So, what is it exactly? Well, like it says, it's a fantasy post-apocalyptic game, and it draws its inspiration from like Mad Max Fury Road, He-Man, and primarily like Thundar the Barbarian. There's a lot of Thundar the Barbarian influence in here. I mean, you can tell that just when you open the main cover, which of course doesn't want to open now. But see that picture right there? If you're familiar with Thundar, that should look familiar to you. So I'm not going to go page by page. I'm just going to hit the highlights. It does have a preface in the beginning where he talks about how the idea of the game came together. Table of contents, where we have a chapter on rules, a chapter on classes and races, a chapter on equipment, a chapter on the state of the ruined earth, a chapter on GM tools, a chapter on the bestiary, a chapter on the western lands, and then there's coloring pages and a character sheet. So, that may sound like it's for kids. I will say right off the gate that, I mean, just off the back cover, there's wording in here that I would not be comfortable with my children, 12 and under, reading. It's not horrible, but there are a couple of places where there's some adult language, so you may want to consider that before you think this is just a game for kids. It's not. It's a game that is inspired by not just newer movies, but old Saturday morning cartoons. So we open up, got some kind of cool art here. Also very reminiscent, giving you an introduction that's reminiscent of Thundar the Barbarian's opening. And we have a what's this, the core mechanic of the book. Every action a character might possibly attempt could result in failure is resolved by testing attribute stats. In order to successfully test a stat, a character must roll below it on a d20. Enemies don't make tests. Instead, a character must avoid their attacks by making a test. The only time an enemy would roll is for damage. You have your standard stats: strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. It's done by rolling 3d6. The core mechanic is very old school D&D. You choose a race, and in this, your races, non-human playable races, are treated as race and class, but player characters can be humans, sorcerers, beastmen, robots, or Vek, which are raptor folk. And then you can create your own races as well. Then you choose a class, and there are Barbarian, Beastman, Death Priest, Robot, Scavenger, Sorcerer, Urchin, and Vek. Your class determines how much damage you do, your hit points, and unique abilities. Your class also determines your starting equipment. Then you have armor. I like the way armor works in here. Again, this is kind of like similar to how it's done in The Hero's Journey by James Spahn. Your armor, depending on how heavy the armor is, has reduction points, and it reduces damage instead of building up your AC. Alright, so then we go into the class list, and your human classes are Barbarian, Scavenger, Death Priest, and Urchin. Non-human classes are Beastman, Sorcerer, Robot, or Vek, which is Raptor Folk. Converting saves. Saves are a little different. They're not like old school saves in this. Instead, when you save, it depends on what you're saving against, and in order to save, you roll a attribute test, so a d20 trying to get less than your attribute. It goes over movement and distance. Hit dice is pretty much the same. Critical successes. Death and dying. I'm not sure if this is black hack or not. This is very similar to Dark Places and Demogorgons. When you reach 0 hit points, you roll on the out of action table. And you can be anything from knocked out to dead. There's a whole list of things you can get. It goes over powerful opponents, mooks, hordes, how healing works in the game. It has advantage and disadvantage, so if you play 5th Ed or have played 5th Ed, that should be fairly familiar to you. Gaining levels is a little different. You don't have level charts in this game like you do in some games, or a lot of D&D style games. When a character levels up, their maximum hit points increase by rolling the hit die for the class. The player should also roll a d20 for each stat. If the result is higher than the stat increases by 1. Each class has a stat, or 2, they may roll twice for. This is only done if the first roll was a failure. And that's how you level up in the game. Let's see. It has a section on traps with a bunch of traps broken down, sample traps you can use, rudimentary snare traps, floor pits, wall darts, poison wall darts. You get the idea. It has a small section on encumbrance, class weapons, destiny points, which is used for rerolls and various other things, rolling with advantage. That's an optional rule though. It has the usage die system, which is also used in Dark Places and Demogorgons for like flashlights or things that could run out. Every time you use it, you have to roll, and it may go down a die step until it eventually runs out. You have a section on languages, buying equipment and bartering, and then in Chapter 2 we go into classes. And then your classes pages look like this. This is the Barbarian. And I'm going to talk about a couple of things here. It has your starting hit points. So a starting Barbarian has a D10 plus 4. They all get plus 4. And then they have a D10 per level. It tells what weapon and armor they can use, how much damage they do. And then this section on the next page, this gives us our special features. Like the Barbarian, I'm not going to read what they all do, but attacker, avid fighter, battle shout, loincloth warrior. And then it talks about leveling up. They get to re-roll dex or strength, and strength if they fail those rolls when they're leveling. And starting equipment, it lets them choose their weapons and armor, additional equipment. And then each class has a neat little thing which I like. I always love it when the games do this. You have a chart with interesting trinkets that you can roll for, and then life events. So depending on how old you are, your game master may have you roll more than once on the life events, or maybe just once. But kind of feeds into that life path system thing, and I like that. So that's how it works for pretty much every class in here, and we'll look at each of them in just a minute. I am going to show you, this is some of the artwork. This is on the Barbarian page. Now, one thing I can tell you is the art is done by different people, and there seems to be two primary art styles in the book. Now, before I say this, understand that art is subjective. What I like, you might not like. What you like, I might not like. I'm just pointing out the difference between the two main art styles. So you kind of have this art style, and then you have other stuff that's more this art style in the book. This art style and the Barbarian I'm not crazy about, but that, again, that's just a personal preference. I don't hate it, but it's definitely not my favorite. I like this a lot better. So you have one of those pages, or a 2-page slot for each of those characters. We're not going to read each one of them. I've already told you what characters there are to choose from. Let's see. Then you have information on the magic system, which is also a little different. There are 10 schools of magic that sorcerers can harness spells from. These spells allow sorcerer to manipulate, harm or hinder their foes, heal themselves or their allies, or even alter themselves with stupendous science. Each school contains 3 spells. Starting at first level, a sorcerer begins play knowing 4 schools and 1 spell from each. Every level, a sorcerer chooses a new spell from a school they already know. Every 3rd level, the sorcerer learns a new school and gains one of its spells. So that's kind of a neat way to do it. And you have like arcane spells. You have magic ally, dispel magic, animate object, and then you have the blight school, or blight spells, which includes plague, confusion, and animate dead, so on and so forth. You have control spells, force spells, illusion spells, movement spells, protection spells, restoration spells, stupendous science, and transformation spells. Then we have a chapter on equipment, which is kind of neat because it has a weapon generator in it. It's not just a, here's some equipment. They do have the list of equipment with cost and usage dies that are associated and any special notes. All of that is further back in here. But before that, you have charts for generating armor and weapons. So that's pretty neat. Let's see, you have a section on hirelings. Then we hit chapter 4, State of the Ruined Earth. And this is more of just info on the setting. Again, if you're familiar with any of the Mad Max movies, or if from a kid, if you remember Thundar the Barbarian, which was a fantastic cartoon, then that's the kind of setting this is. Apocalyptic world with all kind of crazy stuff going on, and you'll see that even more when we get into the bestiary here. You have mutations, and like this mutation is I am clearly a He-Man figure, but you got some neat mutations that you can give your characters. Again, there's some Thundar the Barbarian and some He-Man influenced in this art here. Chapter 5 is GM Tools. We have this Mike Evans apparently loves charts, and there is nothing wrong with that, but he does lots and lots of charts in here. There are tons of charts on adventure generating, the people, the twist, bringing the crazy. Let's see, what else we got? There are pages of this for generating villages, what's in the village, punishments if you break the law, concoctions of the ruined earth, book generators. This could be super useful. Honestly, some of this could be useful in any OSR style, or not even really OSR. If you're playing a fantasy game or a post-apocalyptic, for that matter, you could use this with Rifts. If you needed weird stuff for, a village, or drinks, or food, or books, or things like that, this would be really cool. You could use this for any of that stuff. Let's see, we have a section on weird mounts, the weird religions table, exploring interesting location generator, which is more charts, and that's very cool. I like charts. I like randomly rolling stuff up. Chapter 6, we get into the bestiary. Alright, and it opens up with telling you how enemy armor and enemy damage works. And that's your page for the alien, which is kind of cool. I will say the fact that the whole book is full color is really nice. Let's see, you have the alien, vampire, spider, lizard, animated trash man, Ant-Man queen, Ant-Man warrior, Ant-Man worker, the apoid. You have the beastmen, you have the car golem, which is literally what it sounds like. It is a car golem. You have a car serpent, cultist, cultist blessed, cult leader, demon dogs, fungal killers. Gotta watch out for the mushrooms. Ghost, giant beetles, giant lizards, giant praying mantis, giant spiders mutated, which is kind of neat because it also has a chart for venom effects in here, which is pretty useful because a lot of OSR games, and I understand that it was kind of left to the hand waving back in the day, and they're trying to emulate that of old school D&D, but it's always annoying to me when they're like, well, this creature is poisonous. Cool, what effect does poison have? Make it up. Well, I'd rather have a chart like this that gives me something cool to happen with that poison instead of just die. Not that, just making them die is not great. Anyway, giant vampire bat, the horrible bear monster, the hybrid animal, and then a chart to hybrid multiple animals together. Let's see, did I skip something there? Oh, yes, of course I did. The killer clown. Gotta have killer clowns. Lightning man, mummy, mutants, pig riders, potbelly pig people, raiders, raider flaming, raider leader, robots, rock monsters, skeletons, sky octopus, slugmen, squidmen, the strange ones, telepaths, the violet-brained Venus flytrap, vulture folk, warlock or witch. I'm just going to show you that one. I really like the art on that one. I think it's cool. Very Saturday morning cartoonish. And for you kids that were born in the 2000s and don't know what Saturday morning cartoons are, I'm sorry, you don't live in a good time. All right, so we have a water weird and zombies. Then we have the Western Lands, which seems to be, it comes with a map, right? And the locations are keyed on the map and then explained in the map key what they are. And it kind of gives you an area to play an adventure in. and I'm not going to spoil any of that. So we flip ahead a little bit, and we hit Appendix B, which is Bonds, Event Charts. Appendix N, which is Inspiration. First one is Thundar the Barbarian. Seriously, go buy this if you don't own it. It's an amazing TV series. It is. The Black Hack RPG, Pirates of Darkwater TV series, Conan the Barbarian books by Robert E. Howard, the Black Plot music video, Gamma World RPG, He-Man TV series, Mad Max series, Heavy Metal magazines, Dying Earth, John Carter of Mars, Wizards the movie, and 13th Warrior are all inspirations for this. And then we have a section with the names of Kickstarter backers, and it says thank you for your support. And there is a couple of our coloring pages, which is pretty neat. And the character sheet, which is fairly simple because this is not a complicated game. I can see this being a lot of fun. I'm not saying you couldn't play this with kids. I'm just saying, and there's not a lot of it. There's just one or two places I noticed that there's some adult language, so if you have younger kids, you probably don't want to hand this to them to read. Does that mean they couldn't play it? No, you can just omit that if you wanted to. Or if you like, pumping it out there, you could pump plenty of it out there. That's, your mileage may vary. I just wouldn't give it to my 12-year-old to read. However, I think after watching Thundar the Barbarian, my 12-year-old would probably enjoy playing in this world. And he doesn't need the book to do that because I can just have the book and run the game for him to play in. If you want to play a He-Man, Thundar the Barbarian, Pirates of Darkwater type game, this is really, really good. It's what it's designed to do. And it's really well made, perfect bound. It's very good paper quality. Like I said, I had a couple of nitpicks about the art, but that was the art style, not the art layout. The art layout is fantastic all the way through the book. And again, my nitpicks with the art style may not even matter to you because art is subjective, so it doesn't matter. That's just me talking about the game. All in all, I think the game is really well put together. I think there are some fantastic ideas in here. And even if you don't want to play Thundar the Barbarian style gaming, the amount of charts in here for everything from generating towns to generating interesting items to generating adventures, this is a useful toolbox for pretty much any kind of fantasy or post-apocalyptic gaming that you can imagine. So I'm pretty impressed with it. I think it's really neat. So let's take a look at the other book that he sent me. And this is the Slave Mines of Venticus the Terrible. This is a level 0 adventure for Barbarians of the Ruined Earth. Now, Barbarians of the Ruined Earth uses the Black Hack, obviously. This does kinda. It is more inspired by Dungeon Crawl Classics in the fact that you are playing, everybody plays like 4 characters. Starting out, you're level 0 characters, and you're running through this gauntlet of an adventure, and from the characters you have that survive, you will choose one of them at the end to level up to level 1, and that would be your character you would play in Barbarians. Now, do you have to make 4 full characters? No. This uses a simple system to represent, because your kids who are trapped in a mine and some other heroes are attacking the mine, and in the confusion, you and your friends are trying to escape. So there's actually not a lot of, if you wanted to make it where the, bad guys were killing the kids, you could, but in reality, they wouldn't. They would just grab them and take them back to their cells. So when you lose a character in here, they end up back in their cell in the slave pits, and the rest of the characters go on. So this adventure is not meant to be a grisly splatterfest of child blood and guts, although, like I said, a group is free to do what they want. The original design of this adventure only has a few places outlined where PCs die when they are reduced to 0 hit points. Most of the time they're just recaptured. However, for character creation, it does not follow the standard rules for Barbarians, since many of these characters will be recaptured and hauled away. we don't see the need to get bogged down with rolling 3d6 for 6 stats for each character. Instead, each character will rely, for this adventure only, on something called Kid Luck. When performing an action or making a test, the player rolls 1d20. A result of 1 to 10 is a success. A result of 11 to 20 is a failure. When a character is attacking a creature that are larger than them, attacking a creature that is larger than them, which is pretty much everything, they suffer disadvantage on the rolls. Characters do not suffer disadvantage when defending against attacks. Since characters are small, they are children after all. They make tests to hide from opponents with advantage. Starting hit points, everybody gets 4 hit points. This represents the plus 4 hit points that all the classes get. So you just all have 4 hit points. Character race, you can pick or roll which race you want your character to be, whether it's human, beastman, Vec, whatever. And then if you are a beastman, you can roll to determine the animal type, whether it's wolf, bear, cougar, alligator, snake, so on and so forth. Weapon damage, weapons deal 1d4 damage, or 1 point if it's improvised or a fist. And that's pretty much it. It's a go from that point. It opens up with a layout of the slave mines. And the adventure is broken down into color-coded sections, that some of which you read and some of which is just for the game master to tell you what's going on. And I'm not going to go a whole lot into it. I've already told you the basic premise. You're trying to escape, and with whatever characters you escape with, from that you would build your first level character for Barbarians of the Ruined Earth. Which I think is neat. I understand they do something similar in Dungeon Crawl Classics, though I've never played it. But I think it's a neat idea for starting characters out. Alright, so we have some new baddies. We have the Beetle Leech Swarm, the Man Bat, and it is exactly what it sounds like. We have the Miner Bot, the Mushroom Parasite, the Overseer Glog, the Pustule Feeder, the Robo Drones, Robo Guardians, Robo Warriors, and Toxic Hippo Sludgemus. Then we have a new monster rule, rules for swarms. And then when you get to the finally escaped part, this is where you're going to choose one of your surviving characters to take them up to level 1. It's a neat little adventure. It's a neat way to start the game out. And if you're going to start a campaign, this is a cool way to do it. I am very pleased with both books. I thought they were really, really neat. If you like this style of gaming, this kind of storytelling, then I highly suggest picking them up. I think in print this is like $40 on DriveThruRPG, but you get the PDF for like $15. And I don't know about this one. I didn't look it up. They were both sent to me by Mike to check it out. So Mike, I think you put together a really cool game here. And whether I'm running Barbarians or not, I'm going to keep these books close to me because I could see using quite a bit of this stuff in my other games. I hope that you found this useful. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. And until next time, my friends, good gaming and good luck.